I'm going to annoy a few people when I say this, but needs must. For this episode, folks, I need you not to think of these as locomotives as such, more as kettles. Annoyance over, let's crack on. Hello guys, welcome back to Ropley. We're joined with Andrew again, who featured in one of our last episodes. How are you doing, mate?
I'm alright, thank you. Yourself?
Good, thank you. So, what's happening with the IVET at the moment?
So at the moment, the IVET's been stopped for its annual boiler exam.
So what's involved in that?
So there's cleaning out the tubes, smoke box, firebox, there's stripping the boiler down for washout and getting all the extras ready as well, like safety valve stripping and...
Oh, fair enough. So we mentioned washouts in the boilers part 2, and you're mentioning that it's to do with total solubles dissolved. Is that the reason it's having to wash out now?
It's having a washout for that reason, but it's also the second reason is inspections. So it's as important to inspect the boiler as it is to wash it out. So we're doing that as well.
Oh, fair enough. So guessing, well, viewers at home, the reason I said the word kettle is because essentially it's a bigger version of that. So what kind of lime scale do you get built up? I'm guessing water and lemon doesn't really kind of do much on this.
No. So if a washout's not done correctly or frequently, this is the sort of scale build-up you can get in the boilers.
Oh, wow.
This can block waterways, passages, it can cause all sorts of havoc basically. It can also cause platework to overheat because the water's not taking the heat out of the platework from the fire. So you can get hot spots, but yeah, so this is the sort of thing we're looking to avoid.
Wow, definitely quite a step up. Is that a stay I can see in there as well?
It is, yeah, from where a stay's been shelled out in the past and just in the water space.
I'm guessing that was taken not while I was in service.
No, this has been taken from Canadian Pacific, which is being overhauled up the boiler shop at the moment.
Excellent, reassuring. So not in service, folks. That's a good, important thing to point out. So what else is involved with this annual exam? Oh, actually, I should ask first. How do you wash out an engine? Yeah,
so you've got mud hole doors and washout plugs, which are inspection points around the boiler. So for an annual exam, we'll remove all the plugs and doors and stuff like that, and then we can get the hoses in and wash the inside of the boiler out.
Fair enough. So what's the next stage?
The next stage will be to strip safety valves, clacks, which are non-return valves for the injectors, steam valves, all that sort of stuff that the insurance inspector will want to have a look at.
Fair enough. Can we go and have a look?
Yes, of course you can. Yep.
Let's go.
Yeah, so here we are at the front of this IVET now. We've opened up the smoke box door so you can have a look inside. So part of the first job of washing the boiler out will be to get access to the front tube plate. And to do that, we've got to remove the self-cleaning gear. So we've got a fixed screen which sits at the back. So as the ash and that sort of thing comes down the tubes, hits the screen and falls to the bottom of the smoke box, where by the turbulence of the air going round, we'll smash the ash up until it's small enough to pass through the front screen, which sits here. And then that can go out through the chimney. And that's there basically to reduce the fire risk of hot ash going out the smoke box. Once we've got past that, we can actually then see the tube plate. So all the small and large tubes have been blown through, so they're clear of obstructions. Washout plugs have been removed, again to gain access to the water side of the boiler. And we've washed around in there, around all the joints, all the tubes, all that sort of thing, and then blasted through. The last few jobs we've done in here before we're finished is to needle gun the two main steam pipes down to the cylinders, and then the front tube plate on the seam and that sort of thing. This is done so the boiler inspector can take thickness checks with a probe, just to make sure it's not getting too thin or anything like that. The other test you can do is obviously tap it around with a hammer again, and that would tell you the same, but it obviously gives you a measurement. I think that pretty much sums up what we're looking for in here. So here we are on top of the IVET now. We're going to have a look at the Clacks, which we've spoken about before, which is what allows the water into the boiler, but stops the steam coming back out again. So on this type of design, you take the lid off, and then you've got what's called a clack cage. And then within that, you've got the clack itself. So these have already been lapped, but the two shiny faces there are where it's been lapped and give you a steam tight seal. So when that's sat within the boiler, the water comes up and lifts that clack within the cage and lets the water in, and then steam pressure pushes that back down, and that's what stops it coming back out again. So here we are on top of the IVET now, and we're back to safety valves, which we spoke about in a previous episode, but I thought, you know, as we're taking them apart, be of interest to some to see how they go. So you remove the split pin first, which releases the cotter pin, and then you've got the top cap. This is used to control the fullback on the safety valve, so the more holes you block, the more it will stay open before it shuts, and then obviously if you clear the holes, vice versa. You've got the locking nut and the adjuster within that, which we undo, which releases the tension on the spring. So you've got the adjuster and the locking nut there. And then we undo the top half of the body. That then lifts off to show the valve spindle, the spring and the caps that are top and bottom to guide it all, so it all stays neat. And then you've got the valve itself, and then you've got the seat it lands on, and the two shiny bits where I've lapped this in to remove any high points or any scoring marks. And that's all that keeps your steam within the boiler before the safety valves lift. Up on this side of the boiler, you can see the two mud hole door holes, and then you've got the washout plug holes along the side, and these are used for obviously washing out and access like that. But they'll be used by the boiler inspector, so he can stick a flare and a torch in there to see as far as he reasonably can, to check for defects, pitting, necking of the stays, all of that sort of stuff. And while they're out, obviously we clean all the holes up inside on the ceiling face, we clean the doors themselves, and obviously they'll have a fresh gasket when they go back together. So having had a look around the rest of the engine up on top of the boiler and stuff like that, we're now in the cab. As you can probably see, it looks a bit different to what you'd normally see. We've taken the gauge glass frames off for repacking, which you can't do in situ on this. The other thing we've taken off are the steam valves for the injectors. This one's had its seat cut and lapped in, so it's a steam tight seal again. And this one was badly scored, so we've taken it off and put it on the machine for cutting the seat with the machine tools, which will make it far easier and quicker. We've also taken the pressure gauges off for recalibration, because obviously it's important to know how much is in there. Before we end, here's the final little treat, having a look around the firebox. This will obviously be done by the boiler inspector as well, but we do our own internal examinations at washouts. Part of that, just as a quick guide, part of that is shining a torch down the firebox side to look for quilting and stuff like that, which is bulges between the stays, which could show a stay's broken or anything like that. We also have a look at the condition of the stay heads, stay nuts, patch screws or rivets on the seams down here on this section. The state of the lap seams as well. When we obviously are testing stays, as Sam's spoken about before in a previous episode, we obviously listen to the sound they make when you hit them basically. So you hit them on the head, and a good ring is a good stay. And obviously if you get a dull thud, as Sam said before, that's a broken stay. So we'll go around and hammer test all the stays. For an annual exam as an extra, there's a fusible plug right up the top of the firebox in the crown sheet, which will be removed and replaced. And yeah, just general condition. Obviously we're looking for any cracks or anything appearing in the top radiuses, known as fissures. The condition of the brick arch as to what state that's in. As you can see, this is beginning to crack in a few places, but it's perfectly serviceable and safe at the moment. We obviously look at the condition of the grate and anything else in it really. It's just a good thorough general inspection of the platework and surrounding items.
Well, there you are, guys. Something a little bit different. Andrew, mate, thank you so much for that. I've never actually looked inside a safety valve. I just assumed it's some sort of magic thing that gets you in trouble if you gets used too many times.
No problems at all. Glad you've enjoyed your look around.
And a firebox as well. It's quite cosy in there once you kind of squeeze yourself through the door.
Yeah, it's quite snug through the door.
So there you are, guys. Thank you again for watching, and mate, thanks for showing us around. And we'll see you next time for another episode of Things You Now Know.
Big screens that sit at the back, so the ash will hit the back of these and then drop down onto the table plate. And the fine mesh, so once they've been bashed up and small enough, they go up and just I saw you come on.
On the fire sits on, to make it life easier for cleaning.
What was it this time?
It was him!
Here's an output.
Stunning work. You can tell he's done this before.